Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and today I want to talk about the third of 3 reasons that we experience depression or feelings of depression, and how we can actually go back into this and undo some of these challenges. So first and foremost, if you haven't already signed up, please go and reserve your early bird prices for the upcoming courses that we're launching in the end of summer. And you can go to www.personaldevelopmentschool.com and you can check out the transformational course offerings at the bottom of the drop-down menu under courses, and you just have to put in your email address and which courses you want to reserve for early bird pricing going into the summer. And there's a really comprehensive course about depression that we're offering in here that is extremely transformational. And we also have the emotional mastery and attachment course closing for seats in the next 10 days. So check that out too. Anyway, so let's go into the content for today. So the third of the 3 major reasons we experience depression is because we are storing a lot of subconsciously one-sided perceptions in response to painful previous memories that we've had. So basically, you can look at it this way. Let's just term it. We're going to say we haven't forgiven. Okay, so the third of 3 reasons is we haven't properly forgiven a whole bunch of different experiences that have happened in our lives. And until we go back into these major core experiences and balance our perceptions around these experiences, we are going to be holding on to them subconsciously with more negatives than positives. And your subconscious impacts your emotional state greatly. And without going into major detail, you can think of it like this. If there are a lot of painful, unresolved emotional experiences in your mind, they're taking up subconscious real estate. And if there's more negatives than positives attached to major memories, then you're going to have more negatives than positives in your emotional state. Okay, so here's how we actually go into this. Actually, I'm going to give you a little synopsis first, and I'm going to give you some steps how to find these root core experiences, and then how to make a little bit of peace in a pretty short period of time. So first and foremost, if we have a lot of painful experiences, like let's say we were bullied as children, and let's say we haven't gone back and like tried to make peace with that and done work on that memory, and we haven't forgiven those people and understood the experience. And forgiveness is not for the person. Forgiveness doesn't mean that it's a justification of somebody's behavior. Forgiveness means that you're choosing to adapt a different perception in your mindset so that your own subconscious real estate and your own emotions are in a healthier and better place proceeding through your life. Now, there's steps to actually get there that are very practical, very tangible, and really help us. And I'm going to give you those steps towards the end of this video today. So here's what happens. When we have a lot of those painful experiences, it also becomes sort of like uncomfortable to feel fully connected to ourselves, because when we are in pain and we've got a lot of negative subconscious storage, then it doesn't really feel fun to sit and feel all of our emotions. So generally what the average human being does is they kind of dissociate from themselves a little bit, and they get into a bit of a state of emotional repression. And here's the thing, your emotions are like your guides. They're guiding you towards when you're running painful thoughts and beliefs, or when you have deeply unmet needs. So if you're trying to go through life, you have these painful experiences in the past, you're storing them subconsciously with more negative than positive emotion. And then in the present moment, you're experiencing like pain and suffering and frustration, and then you're just pushing that down, and then any positive or negative emotions you're still a little bit disconnected from, because you don't want to feel too much, because it doesn't feel safe to feel. And now you're out of alignment with your needs, you're running painful thoughts on autopilot more often than is necessary, and you're setting the tone to feel quite depressed. So here's the thing. When we get into this space where we have unresolved painful memories, we also get more into like the past and the future. So we start thinking a lot more about like memories from the past and fears of the future. And anytime we're too like future oriented, and not future oriented because we're coming from an inspired space or a goal setting space or a rooted grounding space where we're planning and we're wanting to create. Outside of that, if we're thinking a lot about the future, we're always in a little bit of subtle fear. And fear, anxiety, let's call it anxiety, like subtle fear, and anxiety can obviously be much more intense. Let's call it worry. If we're worrying about the future, it's actually a reflection of unresolved memories from the past. So if I'm worrying that I'm going to go to a new workplace and I'm going to be bullied, chances are I have unresolved memories from the past that I'm actually projecting into the future. Does that make sense? So it's like I'm taking these painful experiences that have happened to me in childhood, and because they're unresolved, I'm now projecting the potential of them recurring into the future. And now I'm creating my own anxiety. And anxiety isn't so much future-based, it's actually unresolved past wound-based. It's just getting reprojected. So when we're going through this, okay, we have to be able to source out what memories are living within us. And here's another thing. When we haven't forgiven, we are also in a subtle state of victimizing ourselves. So not only are we disconnected from ourselves because it doesn't feel safe to fully feel, but we're also in the subtle state of creating worry or anxiety, and then we're also in the subtle state of victimizing ourselves. Anything we haven't forgiven, we are still seeing ourselves as the victim of. And in reality, you know, victimizing ourselves doesn't really serve at all. Anything that we're the victim of, we're saying that we're powerless to. You know, these people or these experiences still have more power over my emotional state than I do. It's like I'm outsourcing the empowerment of myself and my being and my emotional state to nothing, to just memories now. And this is where we really want to grab onto these memories and empower ourselves and work through them and become accountable and empowered instead of staying in this victimized space. And this really takes us out of the present moment as well. And it's really the present moment. And a lot of people don't even really know what that means until you've had the experience of being able to be really present, because you've cleaned out a lot of your subconscious stuff that's keeping you in the past and in the future. But we have to do a lot of that cleaning and get really present. And you'll see that, like, when you're present, you have a lot more well-being. You have a lot more like natural fulfillment, joy, gratitude, because you've done that subconscious cleaning. So you're not projecting into the past and then feeling victimized projecting into the future and feeling victimized by the past. So I'm kind of rambling a little bit here, touching on all these key parts. Let's go into making this really simple for a moment. So here are some core steps that will help you to arrive at a place where you can clean some of these memories, essentially, or heal them. Some core steps to actually access them. So arrive, access, and then some core steps to forgive. And I'm going to explain a little bit about what forgiveness is. And forgiveness it isn't just forgiveness towards other people. It's also forgiveness towards ourselves. Okay? So how we have to arrive. Number one, you have to get out of the hamster wheel. A lot of us are running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We're not taking active time to slow down, to simplify our lives, to relax, and to be able to even connect to what's bothering us in the background in the first place. And if we haven't done that, we can be running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the reason really that we're running at 1,000,000 miles per hour is because we're running from something. Usually unresolved stored subconscious memories, and feeling victimized or afraid or disempowered, and not really wanting to feel our emotions. So it's usually like our memories and our emotions that we're running from. So we have to slow down. We have to actually get ourselves to feel. We have to learn to spend a little bit of time in self-reflection on a daily basis and connecting to ourselves on a daily basis. If that's not already part of your habit on a daily basis or routine, you're setting yourself up for a little bit of a challenge, because you'll be a lot more reactive instead of reflective, and then responsive in a healthy, positive way. The next thing is we really want to learn the principle that understanding is one of the core forces that replaces inner conflict or external conflict. When we don't understand where somebody else is coming from or why they did what they did, we automatically take ourselves as the victim of situations. Okay, so for example, if somebody yells at us in the subway, then we can go, oh my gosh, that person was rude and mean and terrible. But when we can understand them, when we can understand that hurt people, it's only negative people who are actually in pain that are spreading that pain around. Like if that person came back to you after and said, hey, I'm so sorry I yelled at you earlier. I lost one of my pets this morning and they got hit by a car or something like that. That's kind of a terrible example. But if somebody said something like that, well, all of a sudden you would be like, wow, I have so much understanding for them, and your conflict would be let go of. And it's, what's happening inside of you is what counts. What you're feeling about the situation is what counts. So when we can start to try to understand, and we won't always be able to understand everybody, because sometimes somebody will be angry or hurtful that's a passing stranger on the sidewalk or whatever it might be. But when we can try to extend understanding, it actually helps us to release our own inner turmoil and conflict. And again, like, whatever's happening through you is happening to you first. So if you're angry at somebody or resentful towards somebody or frustrated at somebody, you're first going through that inner turmoil, not just emotionally, but neurochemically. So we really want to like tune in there and start to connect to ourselves and be able to release these things and trying to understand, instead of be in conflict, be the victim, be angry, be resentful, is actually what serves us more than anybody else. And so here are some actual steps. So that's how you want to arrive. You have to slow down for a minute. You have to self-reflect, self-connect, and try to start understanding and looking more deeply at issues. The next thing is, how do we actually forgive? So real forgiveness, proper forgiveness, is actually the realization that there was never more negative than positive to begin with. Okay? So whatever the instance was that caused a lot of painful experiences, we want to go back in and we want to ask ourselves some core questions. And maybe we'll be in really negative experiences and we're really having a hard time because of how much we've been conditioned or programmed or our collective beliefs. Maybe we'll have a hard time finding equal positive to negative. We want to find as much as possible. And I don't mean like look at disowning that negative happened from an experience, because we know, we're not going to lie to ourselves, we know when something negative or painful or hurtful happens. But it's about looking for the gifts and the lessons and the awareness and the development and the growth that comes out of this experience that really helps to balance out our perception. And then we actually make peace with these memories. So if you aren't forgiving and you're getting stuck on non-forgiveness and you're having a really hard time, you haven't taken the lessons, the learning, and the growth out of your experience yet. There's a really good chance for that, okay? So here's what we want to do. Let's say you have a painful memory that you experienced. Let's say somebody did something rude to you 10 years ago, okay? And let's say let me think of an analogy. I'm trying to think of like a real life one that I've spoken to somebody about. Let's say a divorce. So let's say, 10 years ago, you got divorced with the partner of your children, husband or wife, or male or female. And let's say that you spent a lot of time like being angry and resentful and frustrated about this. If you're still holding on to it, you haven't gone back and fully acknowledged and recognized the positives or the lessons or learnings that came out of it. So here are some really powerful things that you can do. Sit down, okay? Ask yourself, how did I learn from this experience? How did I grow from this experience? What did I let go of in my life that no longer served me? Okay, maybe I was in that marriage and maybe I was unhappy. Maybe I wasn't communicating properly. Maybe my life had just kind of flatlined and kind of stabilized and I was just going through the motions every day. And maybe out of this experience, I got to like reconnect to myself again and start a new chapter of my life. And maybe that new chapter led to like lots of personal growth, lots of personal development, lots of spiritual connection, lots of new relationships and learning and community. And so you want to look for like, what wasn't working, that wasn't serving me, and how did I come out of that in an even more positive way because of having to let go of that painful experience. Maybe, by definition, when we get divorced, we make every decision because collectively, consciously plus subconsciously, we perceive more benefits and drawbacks to the experience itself. So, you had to know that the marriage wasn't working enough to be able to leave. And maybe you were able to get, your needs met from another romantic partner after that. Maybe your marriage relationship, they weren't speaking your love language. And maybe you found somebody after that would. Maybe you reconnected to old friends. Maybe you got a job. So you want to really deeply look for these things and acknowledge them. You want to also ask yourself, what did this experience show me about myself? and why is this important for me in my life? And you want to take some time to like sit with that powerful question and really write about it. And you also want to ask yourself, you know, what lessons did I learn through this experience that helped to prepare me for my future? And maybe it's a future as a mother or a father, or maybe it's a future as in like a future romantic relationship. And then you want to look at, where would I be now? This is a powerful question. Or what would I be doing now if, like, how happy would I be essentially if the divorce didn't happen, or if your negative experience didn't happen in the first place? And I see a lot of people who go through like traumas, and out of their trauma, maybe it's like an emotional trauma, and they become some kind of healer or teacher. Or maybe they have a tough childhood, and that puts them like in touch with their strengths and their perseverance, and maybe that helps them excel in their career. You know, a lot of these things, if we only had positive experiences through our lives, we wouldn't grow like this. We would just kind of stagnate. And so all of our challenges, all of our negative experiences, we have to go back and just really take a cold, hard look at. And we want to look through the 7 areas of life. So when we're asking these questions for ourselves, what did we let go of that no longer served? How did we learn or grow? What did this show me about myself? How did this prepare me for the future? You know, what would the negatives be if this experience never happened? What would I not have today? What new relationships came out of this experience? Like all these, we're really digging into this. And you want to look in the 7 areas of life. So you want to look at career-wise, financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and relationship-wise. So family, friends, romantic partners, pets, etc. Relationship to self. So go take a long look, and what this is actually allowing you to do is to take these painful instances and just balance your perceptions around these painful instances to find a little bit of relief and peace. And in doing that, you're sort of cleaning out some of that subconscious imbalance of negative to positive emotion, because all memories are colored with emotion and stored subconsciously, and your subconscious doesn't forget anything. It actually holds on to all memories. It consolidates them a little bit, but it holds on to all of them. And then you want to go in here, and by balancing some of these things out, you're actually making it safer to be with yourself, to connect to yourself, to recognize that you weren't just a victim from the situation. We can be victimized in situations. You know, somebody can come up on the street and punch us in the face, and in that case, like, yeah, you might have been victimized in that situation, but you don't have to become a victim after that situation. You can do work, make peace with it, take the effective measures to not let things like that happen again, learn and grow and develop from it. Yes, you can be the victim in a moment, but you don't need to keep that as part of your identity. And really going in and doing some forgiveness work and balancing out your perceptions in your subconscious memory or emotions is a really effective tool to start that process. Thank you so much for watching. If you're getting a lot of value out of these videos, please like them, share them, and subscribe to our channel, or please feel free to visit www.personaldevelopmentschool for upcoming courses, events, and all kinds of exciting stuff that we're doing. Oh, and I will be launching an ebook on Friday. So this video might come out after Friday because I'm pre-recording them in a batch right now, but I will be launching an ebook on attachment styles and navigating your attachment style, and it's for free on my website on the Personal Development School. Thank you for watching.